All right, it's 1 o'clock. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn off my camera so I don't distract you from the information. All righty, I am really excited to dive into this webinar. I love talking about all of this stuff. And I'm going to be talking about things that I've learned both through my health coaching experience, my Kundalini yoga experience, both teaching and doing it, and what I've learned in my own experience, both in my health and my spiritual journeys, as well as working with my clients. So if you don't know, my name is Katie. Hopefully you all already know my name. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, personal trainer, Kundalini yoga teacher, and Reiki practitioner. I help women with PCOS calm their symptoms and clear their energetic wounds so they can live as the highest version of themselves. Today, we're going to dive into 3 big topics on how to calm your PCOS symptoms naturally and feel in control of your PCOS instead of feeling like it controls you. So the first thing that you need to understand that calming your PCOS goes deeper than just treating the symptoms, right? That's what all the doctors try to do when you see them. They want to treat the symptoms and not get to that root cause. You get birth control, metformin, you're told, you need to go on a diet, you need to eat X amount of calories, exercise however many hours a day. And that's just addressing the symptoms and not the root cause. And healing with PCOS goes even deeper than just lifestyle changes alone. As you'll see throughout this masterclass, we as women take a lot of energetic hits, so to speak, to our womb and just our energy in general. And when you're already dealing with PCOS, these energetic wounds only make things worse. And if you aren't already, make sure you're following me on social media. I share a lot of really valuable information and tips for PCOS and energetics all the time. Okay, so in order to calm your PCOS, feel in control of your body, and unleash your inner goddess, you need to master 3 things. So first, we'll understand how chakra blockages are causing not only emotional distress, but are also making your PCOS symptoms worse. Next, we'll take a look at how you became disconnected from your womb space and how to reconnect with it so you can reach a deeper level of healing. Then lastly, we're going to look at how to reignite your feminine energy so that you can become an empowered queen. Okay, so let me know if this sounds like you. You can either hit the raise your hand button or you can type me into the chat box, whichever one works for you. So you're dealing with PCOS, endometriosis, and or fertility issues. You can't seem to manage your symptoms no matter what you try. Your weight and your periods are all over the place. You're dealing with acne, facial hair, stomach hair, other embarrassing symptoms. You feel burnt out. You're feeling like you're trying really hard to have it all, but nothing turns out how you want it to. You're feeling unheard by your doctor, your family, and your friends. You feel lonely, like no one understands what you're going through. You feel like less of a woman because maybe your appearance, or maybe because your womb or your womanly parts aren't working the way that they're supposed to. And you have this sense of, why is this happening to me? And no one can explain it beyond a clinical diagnosis. But you're not looking for a clinical diagnosis. You want the, why is this happening to me, right? Yeah, Rachel said preach. Exactly. Yeah. All right, so on top of all of that, you've got your family and friends thinking you're either lazy because you aren't trying hard enough to lose weight, get pregnant, regulate your periods, lose the facial hair, or that you're completely broken and beyond repair. So you feel completely shut out and alone and like a complete failure. And don't even get me started on doctors. They tell you over and over again that the solution to all your problems is to lose weight and take birth control pills. But when you ask them how to lose the weight, all they say is eat less and exercise more. And they have nothing to offer beyond that other than come back when you're trying to get pregnant. But you're in pain now, and they just aren't listening to you. And then there's the fear. If I don't get my PCOS under control, will I struggle with my weight the rest of my life? Will I ever be rid of this constant stress? Am I just destined to get diabetes? Will I ever be able to get pregnant? Will I ever stop feeling like a broken woman? Will I ever be able to truly heal? It's really scary, right? Especially when you feel like you have absolutely zero control over your health and your body. But you also have this desire to be in control of your health, to feel confident and to feel worthy. And as a woman with PCOS, you've already dealt with your fair share of roadblocks in your healing journey. These methods that you've tried before, like 1,200 calorie diets, birth control, metformin, they don't address the energetic causes for your weight gain, your period problems, and acne, like trauma, emotional wounds, and societal conditioning in the first place. They feel constraining and restrictive, and like no one is listening when you tell them they don't work. That's because these methods aren't designed for women with PCOS, and they actually work against you rather than working for you. But it's important to remember that none of this is your fault. These methods that are given to you are what the doctor, Google, and basically every diet and exercise program out there preach. They aren't tailored to PCOS, to you, or to your body. They focus on superficial things like calories and carbs, and they only work on that physical level if they even work at all. Not to mention, most of these methods are only temporary if they work at all, and they can actually cause increased stress, weight gain, low energy, irregular periods, constipation, and mood swings. And these are all the things that we're trying to prevent, not make worse. That's why we're going to focus on strategies that are in alignment with you and your body and work for PCOS, so you can have increased energy, that constant sense of calm, the confidence to unleash your amazing potential, and a body that you love. So imagine this. You spring out of bed every day full of energy. You can't stop looking at yourself in the mirror because you look so freaking hot. You feel calm, cool, and collected, even in the most stressful situations. You feel like the poster child for an empowered woman. Your relationship is on fire because you and your partner can't keep your hands off of each other, and you don't feel like PCOS is running your life, right? Click the raise hand button or put me in the chat if this is what you want. Awesome. Full transparency, at the end of this masterclass, I will be giving you an invitation for an exclusive opportunity to work with me, because I will be inviting you to work with me inside of my program, the Embodied Creatrix Protocol. It's truly an amazing program. I'm so in love with it. But just be aware of that and get prepped for it, because I'm really excited to welcome a few of you into this protocol if you are a perfect fit, because my mission on this planet is to help as many women with PCOS as possible feel in control of their bodies and align with their highest selves so that they can look, feel, and perform at their best. So just get excited if this resonates with you. And don't forget about our Q&A at the end too. I'm sure there will be some questions after we've gone through all of this info. All right, before we get into the good stuff, I want to share with you why I know this and why you should listen to me, because let's be real, there's a lot of BS out there when it comes to managing PCOS and people claiming to have the miracle pill or cleanse or shake. And it's really just a load of BS. Seriously, every time I go on Instagram, someone says something and I just kind of roll my eyes. So I've already told you that I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, personal trainer, Kundalini yoga teacher, and a Reiki practitioner, and that my passion and purpose is supporting women with PCOS in their health journeys so that they can step into their highest potential and have the confidence to inspire others to do the same. But I too used to struggle with PCOS and my self-image. So I struggled with PCOS, my weight, my cycles, my self-worth, and confidence for a long time, many, many years. My doctors would always tell me to lose weight, but the only advice they would give me was to eat less and exercise more. I was so embarrassed every time I went to the doctor. I dreaded getting on the scale because I felt like I was failing a test every time. Instead of losing 10 pounds like the doctor would tell me to do, I would gain 20, and it would be totally random. Like I felt like it was just happening to me, right? And my cycles were all over the place. They would come every few months and I had no idea when the next one would come. They were so all over the place that I struggled to learn how to use a tampon for a while because I was using them so infrequently. And that was really a big problem for me because I was a swimmer. So you needed that in the pool. Not to mention the happy trail I had going up my stomach to my belly button and the acne I had all over my face and shoulders. I felt like a full-on troll. Like I thought I looked like a troll, and I didn't think I was worthy of anyone's attention. I didn't feel beautiful or confident. I was the quiet, shy girl who tried to make up for her looks with her perfectionism and people-pleasing. I took jobs and got into relationships that I was better than because I didn't believe I was worthy of better things. I was completely miserable. My endocrinologist told me that if I didn't exercise every day, I would get diabetes. And they even handed me this healthy, low-cal fast food guide so I could make, better choices. But I find that really funny now because I obviously was not going to find them in any kind of fast food guide, no matter how many calories were in them. And if I asked for help beyond what they were telling me, it was like I was met with these blank stares. It was like I was the ridiculous one for wanting help beyond eat less and exercise more, even though that clearly was not working for me. I knew I could do better, and I wasn't about to give up on my health just because a low-cal fast food guide wasn't doing the trick. I swam competitively. I worked out extra on the days I wasn't in the pool. I diligently tracked my calories to the point where I would try to walk off some of my meals if I thought I had too many calories. I cut out soda, fast food, and quote, bad foods, but I never saw any changes doing those things. But instead of seeing my PCOS as a roadblock, like all my doctors said it was, I saw it as something to push me to find something that worked for real and for long term. I didn't want to end up with diabetes or fertility issues, let alone be overweight the rest of my life. But it was so hard to fight the exhaustion, brain fog, and constant self-criticism that came with the dieting and the failure. I knew I was better than this. I knew I was better than my crappy self-image. I just felt so defeated trying everything I could and seeing no progress. Can you relate to my story? Click the raise hand button if this sounds similar to what you've been going through, or put me in the chat. It's a very, very common story of PCOS. What changed is I started understanding a few things that I want you to understand as well. First, PCOS is not a life sentence to be miserable, overweight, ugly, or infertile. Emotional and energetic blockages in the body can and will manifest physically, which will make your PCOS symptoms worse. Putting pressure on myself and using negative emotions to punish or shame myself when something didn't work only made my periods worse and added more weight. Over-exercising and under-eating were not the solution to my problems. In fact, they were making my problems worse. And until I addressed the energetic wounds that were feeding my symptoms, they would continue to pop up even after I thought I had fixed everything. And that's what got me to where I am now. Calm, confident, and collected, eating my favorite foods without freaking out about what they'll do to my body, like tacos and brownies. I'm symptom-free, full of energy, feeling empowered without feeling like I need to hustle 24/7, dropping 6 sizes, having a regular period, and glowing skin. Some people think I'm like 22, and I'm like, thank you very much. Having a deep understanding of why all this happened to me and feeling aligned with my purpose and connected to the universe. With this protocol at your fingertips, imagine where you could be in 6 months. Consider this your fast pass. Okay, so let's dive into those 3 pillars. So first, removing chakra blockages, how to remove stuck emotions and thought patterns that are causing physical issues in the body, like cravings, low energy, and irregular cycles. Reconnecting with your womb space, healing your relationship with your reproductive system so you see it as a source of power instead of something broken or weak. And then finally, restore your feminine energy, how to achieve deep inner healing and become empowered in a way that aligns with your truth so you can unleash your inner goddess. All right, so first up, removing your chakra blockages, balancing your chakras so you feel better physically and emotionally. So you may or may not have heard of chakras before, but chakras are these energetic centers in the body that govern both mental, emotional faculties, as well as physical organs and glands. Because of this connection between the energetic and the physical, they are powerful tools that we can use to aid in healing. So each of your 7 chakras governs a specific area of the body as well as specific emotions. So I'm just going to go through these very briefly. So I know this says base chakra, but actually that's the root chakra or the first chakra. That is your seat of stability and security, and that governs your organs of elimination. So basically it allows you to be regular when you're pooping, right? Second chakra or the sacral chakra. That is your seat of creativity, right? That's the area where our womb space is. It's where we literally create new life, right? As well as creativity in other aspects of our life. And this governs obviously our reproductive organs. Our third chakra, solar plexus chakra, is our seat of willpower, and it governs digestion, the liver, and the pancreas. I forgot to mention in the second chakra, this also governs hormones. So it governs estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, which are big players, especially when we're looking at PCOS. And then in the solar plexus chakra, since that governs the pancreas, that governs insulin, which is a huge, huge player in PCOS. The fourth chakra is the heart chakra, and that is our seat of love and compassion, and that governs the heart and lungs. Our fifth chakra is the throat chakra. That is our seat of communication and truth, and it governs the throat and the thyroid. And the thyroid can be a big thing for PCOS as well, and we'll talk about that in a second. The sixth chakra, the third eye chakra, is your seat of intuition, and it governs the pituitary gland as well as the brain. And then finally, we have our seventh chakra or our crown chakra, and that is our seat of divinity and enlightenment. It's kind of like your connection to God, source, the universe, whatever you believe in. And that governs the pineal gland. So when your chakras are balanced, you feel great both physically and emotionally. However, chakras can become blocked, overworked, or unbalanced. And when this happens, we see negative emotions and physical issues in the body. So we'll go over these issues by chakra again. So when we're dealing with the first chakra, the root chakra, you feel a lot of fear, right? Or maybe even disconnected from those around you. And then you can also have trouble pooping. Either you're having diarrhea or constipated. And that's a big issue, especially when we're dealing with PCOS, because what happens when we're constipated is the hormones that have already done their job that are now waste are not leaving the body, right? They are getting stuck in the body, and as well as other toxins. So that's a really important chakra when we're looking at making sure we're detoxifying, making sure we're working on hormonal balance, all really important things for PCOS. The second chakra, shadow emotions, or the sacral chakra, shadow emotions, are guilt and shame, which come up a lot for when you're dealing with PCOS, guilt that you're, if you break your diet, shame that you're not able to heal yourself, or shame that you're dealing with whatever issues that there are, right? So, and that can also be issues with the reproductive organs and glands. So obviously this is a huge, huge one for PCOS, because that's what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with issues with the reproductive organs and glands, as well as those hormones that we talked about as well, like testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. Next, we have the solar plexus chakra. So shadow emotions would be low self-esteem, low self-worth. And I talked about how in my PCOS journey, that was really big for me. I had really low self-esteem and low self-worth because of everything that was going on with my PCOS. And then the physical things that can happen with that are poor digestion and poor detoxification, also very important when we're looking at hormonal balance. And then also, insulin resistance can be an issue when we're dealing with the solar plexus chakra, as well as stress, right? That's your adrenal glands are also governed by your solar plexus chakra. So if you feel a lot of stress, that is an issue with the third chakra, the solar plexus chakra. The fourth chakra is the heart chakra. The shadow emotions are grief, anger, and hate. You can have issues with the heart or lungs. The fifth chakra, the throat chakra, the shadow emotions are judgment, fear of criticism. You can have physical issues with speaking. The throat are the thyroid. And remember, the thyroid can be a big player with PCOS. Because the thyroid is actually a gland, a butterfly shaped gland right there in the throat. And it is a big player when it comes to things like weight, metabolism, hair, both on your head and in other places in your body, as well as your cycle, right? Regulating your cycle. So that's a really important one to know about as well. And then we have the third eye chakra, the sixth chakra. Shadow emotions of that are confusion and depression, and you can have issues with the brain. And that can also be an issue with PCOS as well, because sometimes the issue can be that the signals in our brain are not firing correctly, and that's where these hormonal issues can happen as well. And then with the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, you can feel separated from abundance. So maybe you're feeling a lot of lack, or maybe you're feeling a fear can also be a shadow of this as well, even though it's also for the root chakra. So when we talk about fear in terms of the root chakra, it's more of like a primal survival fear of like, oh no, like that tiger is going to come and get me and kill me, or it's more physical, where the fear with death in the seventh chakra is more like not feeling like, or not feeling supported by the universe and whatever your beliefs are after you die, basically. And that would also cause issues with the brain. All right, so as you probably noticed, these chakra blockages align with a lot of what you might be feeling right now, from the low self-esteem, the guilt, the shame, the trouble expressing yourself, the period problems, weight gain, stress, and lack of energy. So common emotional chakra blockages for women with PCOS include guilt, shame, low self-esteem, low self-worth, feeling like a victim, or feeling like there are obstacles everywhere. That's a really common one, especially when, you know, you have your doctor telling you like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. It's really easy to feel like this is happening to me and there's nothing I can do about it, when in reality, there is something you can do about it. You just aren't getting the proper resources and the proper tools and strategies to deal with it, right? Not feeling aligned with your truth or your true self, right? I talked about how I felt like a troll, and no one's true self is a troll. But when you're dealing with all of these issues, it's really hard to kind of blossom into whatever your soul purpose is. And then feeling disconnected from your intuition, or like you should trust others over yourself. Again, that's a big issue that a lot of times will happen with doctors, right? They'll tell you to eat less and exercise more, and you're like, oh, I don't think that's working for me. And it's like blaring in your intuition, like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But you're like, oh, but the doctor said it works, so I'm going to do that. So that's trusting them over trusting your own intuition. So why is removing chakra blockages important? You're probably like, okay, I'm experiencing these blockages, but I'm not quite sure what this has to do with my PCOS symptoms. So even though chakras are energetic and you can't, see them physically, these blockages can and will manifest physically. So let me say that again. Dealing with unresolved trauma and emotional wounds will manifest physically in the body. Right. And so when we're looking at these blockages, the physical can cause the emotional, right? But the emotional can also can also cause the physical. So that is why it is so, so, so important to deal with these shadow emotions, these emotional wounds, this trauma that you might be carrying around, right? So these unresolved traumas, these emotional wounds that you're carrying around, they can manifest physically, and they can show up as irregular cycles, painful or heavy periods, issues with fertility, weight gain, cravings, low energy, even after a full night's sleep, hair growth where you don't want it, or maybe losing hair on your head, and acne. Basically the standard PCOS symptoms. So that's why it's so important we deal with these. So basically, chakra blockages are making your PCOS symptoms worse. So how do we remove these blockages and heal these emotional wounds so that your symptoms calm down? So when it comes to removing chakra blockages, we need to take a three-pronged approach. Remember, chakras are like a bridge between the energetic, emotional, and physical. So we need to address all three of these things in order to remove these blocks and move into a state of balance. All right, so energetic. First, we need to work on an energetic level. This means identifying any blocks and working on your energy. That can look like meditation, journaling, Reiki, or any other energy work that you like. And I want to say that with energy work, sometimes people will do the work, but then think, oh, that didn't do anything, right? Because we are such a physical culture when we do energy work. It's like, well, I didn't feel anything physically. But that's because some people are more sensitive to energy than others. So if you don't feel anything physically or emotionally, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you or the practitioner did something wrong or that it didn't work. Energy is really subtle. So it's totally okay if you don't pick up on it immediately or in this great capacity, right? If you decide, like, oh, I'm going to go try Reiki, and you go there and you don't feel anything, you're not going to, it's not like you should be like, oh, that she didn't do it right, or like, I didn't get it, or it's me, it's my fault because it didn't work. It worked. It's just energy is very subtle. So it's not like you're going to feel like, I mean, you could very well feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a brand new person, or I feel so energized, or I have this tingling sensation. You totally could feel that. But just note that because it is so subtle, don't feel like, oh, it's not working, or, oh, it's not for me, just because you don't feel anything physically. All right, emotional. We also need to work on an emotional level. Over the years, you've picked up a lot of subconscious programming, and a big part of that is how you react emotionally to things. So it's time to reevaluate that programming, these emotional reactions and buried emotions that were maybe too painful to deal with in the moment. It's important to be patient with yourself when doing this, because it can be a very intense experience, especially when you unearth older wounds, because they can fester, right? If you just ignore whatever it is that you probably should have dealt with in the moment and leave it there, it just sort of builds on itself. So when you encounter it again, it can be kind of intense. So be kind to yourself as you do this work, and don't bring any judgment. You don't want to fight a negative emotion with another negative emotion, because that will just amplify the negativity. Come with love and curiosity. And finally, we want to work on the physical level. This one is the easiest one for us to understand, because when we think of health, the first place our mind goes is to the physical body. We can work on our chakras physically by ensuring that our physical health is in line too. Remember, because chakras are like this bridge, a physical issue can cause an energetic or emotional imbalance as well. So when we look at balancing our chakras physically, specifically for PCOS, we want to make sure that you're eating foods that help balance your chakras, especially your second or your sacral chakra, since that's a big area for us. So orange foods are really good for that, as well as cruciferous vegetables. There are also yoga poses that can help balance each chakra as well. Again, we want to look at yoga postures for the second chakra for sure. So things like hip openers, and then warrior. So warrior 1, 2, or 3 are also really good for your sacral chakra. All right. Speaking of your sacral chakra, let's move on to pillar number 2, reconnecting with your womb space. So first off, what is your womb space? Literally, your second chakra is your womb space, right? It's where your reproductive organs are, where your womb is. So why do we need to reconnect to it? You might be like, it's in my body. I don't need to reconnect with it. Your womb space is not only important in your health, your PCOS, and your ability to have children, but as we saw when looking at your chakras, this is a very important area when it comes to tapping into your desires and being able to manifest. Remember, this is your seat of creativity. So that means being able to create and manifest the life that you want for yourself, the things that you want for yourself, right? So how did you become disconnected from your womb space in the first place? There are several reasons you might feel disconnected from your womb space. And when I feel disconnected, I don't mean it's literally outside your body. I mean, you think of it as either dysfunctional or broken, or as separate from you as a whole, right? So the first reason you might feel disconnected is because of your PCOS. PCOS can make you feel like your womb space is broken because you struggle with fertility, or because your cycle is super irregular, or because your periods are like insane, right? So that's you click the raise hand button, right? On top of that, you have doctors literally telling you there is something wrong with your womb space. So this medical authority that you're supposed to trust is telling you that you are broken, and then you're having these experiences that are reinforcing that idea, right? And our womb spaces in general are very medicalized, meaning we view them literally only in medical terms, right? This is the area where you have your period and where you create a baby. We don't think of this area in terms of its complete power. The next reason you might feel that disconnection is because of the language people use surrounding our womb space. People throw many names for female genitalia around as a way to insult someone, right? When someone's being weak, you call them a pussy. When someone is being nasty, you call them a see you next Tuesday. I don't like saying that word, so I'm not going to say it. Even just saying the literal parts like vagina, uterus, asking someone if they're on their period, or saying like, hey, dude, do you need a tampon, right? These are all negative connotations. And even just the idea of a period, right? People think it's gross and embarrassing. Men don't want to go near the feminine products in the store. There's like this sense of shame around our periods, but it's completely natural, right? It's just blood. It's what our bodies are supposed to do. But it's like, oh, this blood is somehow dirtier. Fun fact, though, thousands and thousands of years ago, men used to be terrified of periods before we knew the biology of what was going on, because they would see women lose like copious amounts of blood every month and still survive. So they were like, what kind of magic is this? I love that story. But we internalize this idea that periods and wombs are bad and broken, and think that our womb space is weak and nasty and undesirable. But, you know, wombs push out babies. So pretty strong. And then there are the connotations around women's sexuality, right? And this goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, where women's sexuality is evil and bad, right? Like we use sex as a way to tempt men away from virtue, and that we ourselves should remain pure, but at the same time be sexy and alluring for the male gaze, right? There's that double standard. You're either a slut or a prude, and you can't win. And again, we internalize this idea that we're somehow evil or dirty because of our womb space, right? So we need to reconnect, reclaim that power of our womb space. So how do we do this? We need to undo societal programming around the womb space, right? So learning that our wombs are these really strong and powerful centers, right? That they're not just this medical area where blood comes out of for our periods, right? It's so much more than that. Removing sacral chakra imbalances, right? And we just talked about that in the last pillar, because when we're dealing with all of these internalized feelings around our womb space, then that's when we have these physical manifestations of these not great symptoms, right? Like having irregular cycles, like having really intense periods, and even infertility, right? If you're thinking that your womb space is broken and dirty and gross, and it's just this medicalized area, and it's not really a part of you as a person, then it's going to be kind of impossible to create a child in there, right? Because your energy is saying like, no, 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 I don't, like, I'm not fit for this, right? Understand the full power of your womb space. So yes, this is totally the area where we create new life, where we have our periods. But like I said, it's also the area where we can really tap into our desires and manifest and create the things that we want and the life that we want for ourselves. And in doing that, really live as our highest selves. And then finally, tap into our feminine energy, which brings us to pillar number 3, restore your feminine energy. So before we go any further, we need to define feminine energy. Feminine energy has nothing to do with gender or sex. It's literally just a type of energy, and everyone has a mix of both masculine and feminine energy. However, women are generally more in touch with our feminine energy, though this is becoming less true because our society is so dominated by masculine energy. And you'll see how that is in just a second. So feminine energy is nurturing. It's very playful. It's very go with the flow. It is about being rather than doing, which might be something that's very hard to get your head around because, again, we are so into doing in our society because we are so run by that masculine energy. It's sensual. And when I say sensual, I don't necessarily mean like, ooh, like sexy sensual, but literally our senses, right? So touching things, smelling things, seeing things, hearing things. It's about our intuition, compassion, the collective rather than just the individual. And it's very heart-centered. And we'll go ahead and define masculine energy as well. And as we go through this, you'll probably see just how dominated our society is by masculine energy, because looking at this list, this is basically how our society is run. So it's masculine energy is all about doing and action, right? We're always go, go, go. Logic and reasoning. It is about independence and the individual. It is about stability and feeling rooted. It's about hierarchies and this idea that, you know, there's this one perfect ideal thing and you need to work up to it, or there are these boxes that you need to check. And it's also very linear. Before I go any further, I just want to say that one energy isn't good and the other is bad, or that one is better than the other. The problem arises when there is an imbalance, right? Just like with chakras. And on a personal level, that's going to look different for everyone. But in society, it's quite clear that there is definitely an imbalance of too much masculine energy. So as I went through this, like I said, you're probably like, yeah, I see that. This is our society, right? So in our society, we are all about doing, and we prize intellect and logic over every other kind of intelligence, right? So look at our education system. We put the focus on things like math, reading, science, and history with very little focus on other subjects, right? They're like the for fun subjects. We called them electives because you could choose to do whatever you wanted. Children in public schools are taught basically just to pass standardized tests, right? That idea of hierarchies, that idea of logic, and the grading system is obviously hierarchical, right? There's A is the best, B is still pretty good, C is average, D is like you need to improve, and F is fail, right? So very hierarchical. In our work lives, we are stressed. We're told we constantly need to be doing something. Otherwise, we're lazy. We aren't encouraged to take time off. In fact, we feel bad about taking time off because you might even fear for your job or your prospect of being promoted. And we're expected to work 40, 60, 80 hours a week. And it's just a source of constant stress. And even in leisure, this idea of constant action is in our heads, right? There's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. If I'm not doing things, then I am missing out. There's not this emphasis on rest or taking care of yourself or just being. It's like, what are you doing this weekend, right? What are you doing tonight? It's always do, do, do. There's no emphasis on rest or nurturing yourself. It's all go, 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 do, 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 be the best, don't stop. So on a personal level, there are some pretty big signs that you're not in touch with your feminine energy and are relying too much on your masculine energy. And this could look like burnout, overthinking, right? Being in your head too much, low self-esteem, basing your worth on your actions and achievements, perfectionism, right? I used to be a huge perfectionist, like I told you, stress, feeling like there's too much to do and not enough time is also a really big one. So raise your hand if this is you. And don't feel bad if this is you. This is literally what we're programmed to do, right? It's not like you're like, I'm going to go do all this stuff. And right, this is how society programs us to be. And this imbalance is bad for several reasons. So for one, you literally do not have the time or the programming to rest and nurture your body when it needs it, right? How many of you have feel guilty about taking rest, or just like resting is like a lazy activity, right? It's not about like, oh, I'm going to take care of myself, I'm going to heal. It's like, no, resting is lazy. I should be doing something, right? There's that really strong urge that comes from that imbalance of masculine energy. Um, this directly affects your body's ability to heal because you literally are not allowing your body to do so. You are focused on doing way too much. It also causes issues with your sacral chakra and your solar plexus chakras. Your sacral chakra is the seat of your feminine energy, and the solar plexus is the seat of your masculine energy. And imbalances in these energies mean issues with these chakras, right? And that directly affects your PCOS symptoms by making them worse. And we already talked about how those two chakras are really big players when it comes to PCOS, because they've got our reproductive organs, they've got these hormones that are causing issues with our PCOS. So when your masculine energy is too much, it's going to be contributing to making those symptoms worse. So physical issues with an imbalance in the sacral chakra, or AKA not being as connected to your feminine energy, can look like irregular cycles, heavy or painful periods, PMS, and infertility. And then physical issues with an imbalance in the solar plexus chakra, AKA way too much masculine energy, can mean issues with digestion, cravings, weight gain, stress, and blood sugar imbalances. So like things like insulin resistance, diabetes, or even just low energy. And I always like to point this out just because it perfectly illustrates the link between the energetic and the physical, and just how much an imbalance of too much masculine energy can create issues. But insulin and cortisol are both governed by the third, or the solar plexus chakra, right? The seat of your masculine energy. So when the solar plexus is overactive and there's an imbalance of too much masculine energy, that can lead to increased levels of insulin and or cortisol. And cortisol and insulin, I tried to combine the two, are friends, right? So if one is too high, it can actually make the other one too high as well. And when there's too much insulin in the body, one of the things that can happen is that too much insulin, it can tell your ovaries to produce more testosterone, causing too much testosterone in the body. So the center for masculine energy is literally invading the center for feminine energy and trying to make it masculine, right? That's totally crazy. But like I said, I love to tell that because it perfectly demonstrates that connection between the energetic and the physical, the masculine and the feminine, and as well as the chakras. So what does it look like when you've restored your feminine energy and things are back in balance? You have this ability to feel your emotions without being controlled by them. You have an improvement in your PCOS symptoms. You're going with the flow rather than feeling pressured or stressed, or feeling like if you do one thing, it's good, and one thing it's bad or lazy. You have this increased confidence. You feel relaxed even in stressful situations, because again, you're able to go with the flow and you aren't in this high stress mode. And ease in manifesting what you want. Remember that feminine energy controls that sacral chakra and is all about creativity and creating what you want in life. And this might seem kind of new, that manifestation idea with the feminine energy, but feminine energy is the energy of manifestation. We tend to think that in order to get what we want, that we need to do as much as possible to get it. And that doing is masculine, and manifestation does require action. But you can't manifest without being able to tap into the desire behind what it is you want, and tap into that creativity and the intuition in order to get what you want, right? And by leaning into your feminine energy instead of solely relying on your masculine, you're able to intuit better the aligned action to take instead of just spinning your wheels and throwing darts aimlessly into one's land, right? And we can talk about this in terms of PCOS, calming your PCOS as well, right? When we're leaning into that feminine energy, you're doing things that align with what works for you, right? You're leaning into that intuition. You're taking the time to rest and heal and be. Whereas with masculine energy, a masculine energy approach to dealing with PCOS would be doing all the different diets, trying all the different pills, and like not really thinking about like, is this working for me? And not thinking about like, how does this make me feel? It's just like, let's just do all the things, right? And that's pretty much what we're told to do when we go to the doctor and all that. So that's probably the area you've been in so far. So that's why it's time to move into more of a feminine energy centered healing space so we can actually, be in touch with our body, nurture our body, find out what works for you. Okay, so now that you've had a sneak peek into just how simple taking control of your PCOS and feeling more confident to be, I wanted to take a minute to show you how this can work in your life. Because I know that there's that piece in your brain that's probably still doubting all of this. Like, I get it. Like I said, I've been there. I know that it feels impossible to get your PCOS under control. I know that it's easy to lose all hope, but let me help you restore that hope and get rid of some of that self-doubt. All right, so think about how you would feel if you didn't have to spend all day looking for a new diet to try. If you knew exactly when your next period was coming and it didn't disrupt your entire life. You didn't feel like everyone was constantly judging you. You could actually relax instead of worrying about everything going on in your life. You felt in control of your emotions, your life, your body, and your PCOS. You didn't have to worry about things like diabetes or infertility. You could float through stressful situations with grace and ease. You had more energy. You increased the closeness and trust between you and your partner because you look forward to being intimate, and you feel like a sexy, empowered woman because this is possible for you. Everything I've shared with you today isn't some random theory or some idea that I think might work for you. Everything I've walked you through today works. It worked for me, and it's worked for my clients who all started from a similar spot that you're in right now. I'm not special and they aren't special. We all have work, families, and other obligations. We've all felt like there was no hope for us, and we all want to live as our highest self. And if I could do it and if they could do it, then I am so confident that you can do it too. Now, I want to ask you a question. Would you rather continue doing what you're doing, trying every diet and exercise plan out there, shaving your face, relying on pills to mask your symptoms, fighting against your body, and internalizing the guilt and shame that comes with that, hoping it works even though it never has before? Or do you want the simpler path with the embodied creatrix protocol that comes with the exact tools, strategies, accountability, and support you need in order to reach your goals? Like I said, I know that up to this point, trying to find help for and manage your PCOS has felt like being not on the struggle bus, but being dragged behind the struggle bus. But I know this is possible for you. And with my protocol, we can speed up this process and make sure you get the help you deserve because you are so deserving of that help. I'm so excited to be sharing this opportunity with you. Like, seriously, I'm like grinning right now because the best way I can help you is by personally supporting each of you in the Embodied Creatrix protocol. I designed this program specifically for women with PCOS to help them calm their symptoms and take back agency over their bodies. With my protocol, we're going to master the 3 things that we talked about today. Remove chakra blockages, reconnect to your womb space, and restore your feminine energy. This high-level mentorship program will invite you to explore the depths of your emotions and your energy, as well as offering practical, easy steps for you to take in terms of diet, movement, and lifestyle. By the end of our time together, you'll have a deep understanding of and feel in control over your PCOS and your body. But that's not the only thing I help you accomplish during your time in the program. You'll also reduce your PCOS symptoms, increase your confidence, uncover and heal emotional wounds, feel improved mental clarity, no longer need to constantly search for new diets, have a deeper connection with your energy and your body, and feel more aligned with your higher self. I know a lot of you have been told by your doctors or by Google or other PCOS, quote, influencers, that there isn't a lot of hope when it comes to managing your PCOS, or that you have to follow a super specific restrictive diet and work out 2 hours a day. You've been told it's hard, if not impossible, or that the only way to see any progress is by taking birth control or metformin or some other kind of prescription drug. Or you feel like you've tried everything possible and think there is literally nothing else you can do. But I want you to know that I and all of the women that I've helped all experience that same feeling of being told, no, this is impossible, over and over and over again, of receiving BS advice and thinking there's nothing out there for you, of trying every possible diet and exercise plan and feeling like crazy people for working so hard with little to no results to show for it. But there is help. I designed this protocol specifically for women with PCOS who want to naturally calm their symptoms and feel more like themselves again. This is all done through simple lifestyle changes, no pills, no shakes, no detox teas, none of that. So now is the most exciting part. I'm inviting those of you who resonate with to join my program, the Embodied Creatrix Protocol. So if you're ready to commit to this journey, I'm ready to support you. I'm really excited if you're like, this is for me. I'm dropping the link in the chat box right now. So you can go ahead and click that to, if you're ready to enroll. And there is more information on the program too, or you're obviously welcome to ask questions at the Q&A or shoot me an email if you have questions about that. If this is something you want to be a part of, if you know that this is what you've been searching for, you can use that link I dropped in the chat to enroll so you can get started as soon as possible. I just recently created this and I'm like so in love with this program. Like I can't even, it's so good. It's so good, guys. But we did it. We've got through all of the information. So thank you so much for coming today. As I said before, my mission, my purpose on this planet is to save the right women from having to experience what I did and give them a simpler way to feel in control over their PCOS. All right. So now it's time for the Q&A. I didn't see any burning questions during. I'm going to come back on the camera if I can do that. Awesome. All right. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat. If not, that's totally fine. I have my contact information up here. So if you're welcome to shoot me shoot me an email, or you can send me a DM on Instagram. That's my Instagram handle right there. But yeah, I'm still, I don't think there are any questions, which is good. I guess that means everybody got all the information. So thank you again, everyone, for coming today. Like I said, if the Embodied Creatrix Protocol resonates with you, then I'm like so excited to help you work through all of these things, to walk this journey with you, because like I said, it's such an amazing program. But thank you again for coming, and I will see you next time.